here today. Just drove from the Jersey Shore to Long Island. Is this Long Island? Long Island. To Long Island. And we took the RV here. So if you jump on, do me a favor and type in boom in the bottom. My daughter is making herself very comfortable there, getting some of her college work done. And I thought we'd talk a little bit. And then this is, just so you guys know, this is where that building is where I'll be talking today. So there is a whole bunch of doctors will be in that building, and I will be helping a bunch of doctors today understand how to not only optimize, but how to take their thinking, how to take their mind processes to a whole nother level. It's something I'm super excited about. Hey, David, what's happening? The thing I'm excited about is how many of the different industries I speak to today. So today is 20 plus foot doctors. So I haven't done foot doctors yet. I've done chiropractors, and I've done a couple other different type of medical, and then I've done a whole bunch of nurses, like hundreds and hundreds of nurses, and then tradespeople and mechanics, and there's got to be probably, if I was to guess, at least 100 different industries now that I've been speaking to lately. So I'm excited. I want to talk to you guys about, maybe it's a little pet peeve of mine that's happening, is that a whole lot of people are complaining about what they don't have, and they're doing nothing about it to change it. They're complaining. They're sitting in a state between delusion and fear. The delusion is, hey, I don't see much of anything happening. The news isn't talking about it enough. Unless you're in the inner workings of certain environments and certain worlds, you don't hear a lot of the noise. It's almost like this creepy silence that's happening. So everybody's going about, they're doing their Disney trips, they're doing their vacations, they're building on their houses, they're buying things. Now, behind the scenes, if you look at things, there's a lot of things that are happening. Down the Jersey Shore where I live, properties are popping up every day. $2, $3, $4 million properties. They're trying to sell it on the other side of the curve, right? The curve's like this, and they're trying to sell it like they're here. And people are buying here, not realizing that it's probably a quicksand trap if they don't do it right, and they don't understand it, and they don't understand how to leverage. So why aren't they taking a chance to learn? I want to share a story with you. So first off, being an electrician, that's my original trade. And hey, everybody that's joining, Josh, what's happening? Being an electrician, that's how I started out. So for about a decade, I had every single excuse on how I couldn't hire people, and people would break things, they wouldn't show up. And what if I hire them and I run out of work, right? What if I don't hire them and I die in an attic? So I hope none of you ever think that when I'm talking about things, or I'm doing trainings or webinars, that I don't understand. I understand. I've done the attics, I've done the crawl spaces, I've dug the ditches, and this is not a walk 20 feet to school, in snow with 1 foot and no shoes. It's not one of those stories. Like, I live this. And I also know what created the change. And the change, I wish to tell you the change is like overnight like that. That's never been my experience. I know there's a lot of people one-hit wonders. They get it, they hit it, it's overnight. It's never been overnight for me. It took a decade of suffering, and it took a decade to win. And now I'm on the half-decade game. I always say, like, people normally in their lives, they're on the multiple decade game, right? Like 2, 3, 4 decades, they haven't figured it out. Then you figure it out, and then you want to split that. That's what I did. I went to the decade game, and then I went to the half a decade game. So when I go back in that time, and I want to save a lot of you some pain and suffering. And what really triggered this is the next book I'm coming out with is called Money Cure. I've done some trainings on the Money Cure. I'll let you guys know when that's finalized and it's out there. A lot of people want it, and I don't blame you, because what you want to do is save decades, right? You want to collapse time. And so when I go back there, I'm struggling. I can't figure it out. But see, why do people wait until it's really, really, really painful? I don't understand that. Well, I do, because I did it too. Because when it's really, really, really painful, all of a sudden you have ultimate leverage, because you're either going to suffer or you're going to win, right? So you have this leverage that starts to happen for you, where you're like, man, I'm going to let everybody down. I'm going to let my family down. I'm going to let, my friends down. I'm going to let myself down. And you start saying to yourself, like, this just can't happen. So then what do? You look for solutions. But why don't you look for solutions before you start to suffer? Why don't you start to look for solutions now? Because most people aren't looking for solutions like, hey, what's next? What do I see in the future? What do I want 5 and 10 years from now? Because if you could identify what you want 5 and 10 years from now, you could start to say to yourself, what are the solutions that I need to get there? That's what brings me to this. Like, I collapse time, and I also understand, hey, Mark, I understand that there's a lot of people aren't thinking about today. There's a lot of things people don't know. There's a lot of changes in human behavior. Everybody is drooling all over this artificial intelligence. I don't drool over anything. I leverage it. I learn about it. I capitalize on it, and I make sure it makes sense. What I am leveraging a lot of is HI, human intelligence. This is the number one issue that's happening today, is technology is overriding the human. The human, I don't want to say is becoming less, but they are. They're not thinking as strategic. So people, I even watch it in people that have been in my world 5, 7, 8 years. They've been in my world on all different levels. Like, they were winning, and then it starts to slow down. It starts to die. Well, because what happened is they stopped the human intelligence. They think that to win, it's like, and just so you know, like, I don't do business coaching no more. It's effective if you have the right one, but business coaching without human intelligence is just a waste of time. And people will win a little, but they don't ever have these multiple big wins. So when we were talking, this is months ago, probably about 4 months ago, we said to ourselves, what do people need the most of right now? And we came up with something. It's like, well, they need a turning point. They need a shift. They need a turning point to understand what's happening that they don't see, that they don't know. Now, I'm not bragging about this, but I'm in circles of people that are sending me the flares, the warning signs, like, Mike, people don't know this, they don't know that. This is how it's affecting their thinking, their decision making. And the pandemic and stuff, it compounded on the issue. So we made a decision to do a 3-day complete, it's virtual training. So it's really convenient, 3 days from the comfort of your home. Now, I'm amazed at how many people can't get 3 days. They're not even living a life. They're living in a jail cell. They can't even give themselves 3 days of learning. And I hear all the excuses from people. First off, let me tell you about the training, and I'm not here to sell it to you. If it's a fit and you want to change and create legacy and start collapsing decades into years, right? And I'm not saying some pipe dream here. I'm saying you got to do the work, you got to learn, you got to change, you got to get rid of the programming inside your mind. But if you want to collapse time here, well, that's why I built the Wealth Code, the Turning Point. 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's coming up. And in those 3 days, I'm going to share with you, you don't want to know what I did. You want to know what I was thinking about what I did. Type in true in the chat bar if that's true for you. Like, you want to know how I'm thinking today. What are the moves you're making? Mike, what emotional change is happening in you to sell $10 million of commercial property? It's actually more than that, because we already sold one property I already sold. Like, how are you thinking about where to live, how to run a company? How are you thinking about how to run a family? How are you thinking about how to lead by example? How are you thinking about all these things? That's why I'm going to do the 3-day training. Now, I hear all the same stuff from people. It's the same things. One, I don't have time. Someone, a mentor. Now, you got to remember, I'm only sharing with you, I invested a lot in mentors. A lot. And again, I'm not bragging, but I'm making a point and I'll prove it. I know a lot of people try to say a bunch of shit and they can't prove it. Like, I'm well over $3 million of investment, like probably some of you are too. I mean, I spent 3.5 years one-on-one training with Jay Abraham. You know, he doesn't do that for like peanuts and M&Ms. You get that, right? I'm not bragging about it. I did it because I understand that the more I expand my mind, the more personal growth I have, the less pain, anxiety, and pressure. So I always hear the one thing. One, I don't have time. Well, a mentor told me one time, he said, if you don't have time to change things, you'll have time for the suffering. You'll have time to experience all your suffering if you don't make time to change. I was like, boom. I said, that made a lot of sense to me. So what did I do? I figured it out. Even when I was in the field, I was looking back because you get certificates for these trainings. And I was in an area where I have a safety deposit thing with all forms, and I was looking at certificates back in 1989, 1990, 92, trainings I was doing even when I was working in the field. Why? Well, I knew the importance of training, and then I'd go back to work if I had to make money. So number one, if you can't make time, ask yourself what's going on with life. Number two, it's the weekend. My children, they have all kinds of things to do. Well, if you're trying to tell your children how to learn and telling them go to school and advance themselves, but your children never see you going to school, what kind of example really are you setting? You're like, oh, I went to school 30 years ago. I mean, my children have watched me do training for their entire lives. Why? Because I wanted to lead by example of, I don't just expect you to learn and grow your brain. I'm going to do the same thing too. So one, what kind of example are you saying? Okay, number three, well, it's the weekend. Okay, anybody that's living Monday through Friday and the weekend, you have to be off, you're a slave to the system, okay? Every day is a magical day to grow your mind, to grow your life, to grow your health. When you live within this structure of I go to work on Monday, I stop on Friday, you're living within this institutionalized system that you were programmed for. This has been for generations where they programmed people how to function to be really, really good workers and employees. You work these days, you rest, you vacation these days. And I would challenge you, if you're in that mind thinking, to maybe shift that and try what it could be like if you could actually invest in yourself to spend 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The next thing that I hear, oh, well, I don't have any money to even invest in myself. Okay, I said that to a mentor too. He said the day you don't have the money is also saying you're not even at the level of consciousness to try to find a solution. One time somebody said to me, I don't have the money. And I said, no, it's not a money thing, it's a solution thing. Did you ever think about bartering? What about the motorcycle you've been sitting in your garage that's useless and it's got spider webs in it that you're doing nothing with? What about all the other avenues? See, when you unlock, that's why it's called unlocking the wealth code, and it's called the turning point. Unlocking because you don't know what you don't know. And I've learned a lot. There's a lot of people that learned a lot. I'm not selling you on me. I'm selling you on you to take a chance and invest. I think it's kind of easy in my world because on day one, if you think it's a whole crock of shit, like you just say, this is horrible, it don't work, it's not for me. Mike, you're too intense, you talk too quick, you're giving me too valuable stuff, I hate it. We'll give you all your money back. Return to workbook and boom, go back amongst your life. So the next thing, Mike, I can't be on Zoom all day. I get Zoom fatigue. I said, no, you're weak. Nobody taught you how to be on Zoom. Nobody taught you how to learn. You're used to sitting there and people regurgitating garbage at you instead of sitting back, being engaged, working, going through. No, you're not going to have Zoom fatigue with me. That stuff doesn't happen. That happens at lectures. That happens with boring people who do not know how to create the virtual impact and transformation. But again, if at the end of day one or half day in, you're like, I got virtual fatigue, Mike. I'm like, okay, we'll give you your money back. I just want to help you. We don't need you there. I am just so frustrated with people who are not getting where they want to go and have every excuse. It's the kids. It's the weekend. I remember many years ago, hey, Jim, somebody said to me, they said, you know what? I'm going on, it's my anniversary and I'm going. I was like, cool. Where are you going? This trip. Okay, the money you spent there, Did it bother you at all? Was it easy? Did you cut a check for $15,000 and it didn't affect you at all? They're like, no, it's a lot of money and we don't even have the money. I'm like, okay, why don't you try this on for size? Why don't you hold off on that? Why don't you come to this training? It was a different training back then. Why don't you come to this training? I'll do my very best to change your life. You'll never worry about money to go on these things. Well, let me tell you how that worked out for the person. After a couple years, they paid off their house and they become debt-free. Now they own multiple homes. They built a big company. They're debt-free. They're living life. They don't have the stress and anxiety like they used to. Why? Because you don't know what you don't know. So if you are interested, or at least if you know somebody who's interested and you want them to stop bitching and complaining, I think I was actually sharing it the other day. I said, you know who never complains about the cost of gas? People who know how money works don't complain about gas. They don't complain about their phone bill. They don't complain about their utility bill. They don't complain about their mortgage. They don't complain about their job. So you've never evolved past that. And this is not a business thing. Oh, okay. Am I back? All right. I think the person I'm speaking at's trying to call me. Maybe he's seeing me at the window. This is an energy thing. This is a, hey, I now want to focus on this. And I am going to focus. And if you're somebody that has energy, you can do this. I don't care if you're a career person. I don't care if you're a mom working at home. Some of you, what's really frustrating me is some of you that think that the deck is stacked against you. If you're a single mom, I want to do everything I can to get you on this training. Everything I can. If I got to do a payment option for you, I want you on here. I don't want any human to feel their suffering. Now, if they don't do the energy and effort, well, I mean, suffering is a choice, right? What is there? Over 9 billion people on Earth and $360+ trillion. And this is not just about, you got to remember, unlocking the wealth code is not just about, it's not about buying properties. It's not about Bitcoin. It's not about crypto. Even though we'll talk about the vibration and the energetic level of those, it's not about that. It's about the shift, the identity, the complete change in you to remove all the programs that you have inside of you. Remove all the things that have held you back. All these things from a kid, right? You had a lemonade stand and nobody bought it, so now you think it's hard to make money. Or you work a job and you're like, well, I work a job, so, I only make this. No, it's not about that. You could work for a company and become extremely wealthy. You could work for yourself, become extremely wealthy. You do have to do some form of effort to create next level wealth. But if you don't even understand, let me ask you guys a question and type in yes or no in the chat bar. If you don't understand how to create wealth in relationships or create wealth within your personal relationship of your husband, wife, or partner, will you ever unlock the levels of wealth you desire in life? You're probably writing down no. The answer would be no. Because if you don't even understand all the areas of wealth, what about in your health? If you don't unlock the next level of health inside of you, will you reach? No, because there's health wealth. There's relationship wealth, right? There's friendship wealth. There's career wealth. But most people, they don't understand the whole dynamics of how this works together. So, look, I'm not here to convince you of anything. I hope you're taking away something, even if it's like you got to get your own ass in gear. People are worried about the economy because they have not created their own economy. And all of you could do this. And this training's not about convincing you on multifamily homes or anything. All those things play a part when you're educated about it. I just want one thing at the end of 3 days. Unlock you and create a turning point in you unlike anything you've ever experienced in your life. Anything. And if that doesn't happen by the end of day 1, okay, which is like a 10, 12, 14-hour day, we'll help you get through it. If it doesn't happen by the end of day 1, you let me know. You could go, there's a million trainings you could pick from. You could go fly all over the world. I made this one super convenient for you from the comfort of your home, and it's a family pass. Why? You get a Zoom link. You're going to tell your family. You're going to tell your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your aunt and uncle. Invite them over to the house. You may not love them all, but they're going to be there 3 days. And if you want them to stop asking you for money and stop making fun of you because you're winning Invite them over, cater some darn food, get some lunch meat, some wings, some pizza, have them there for 3 days together and invest in the people. Because when everybody grows, everything grows bigger together. Okay? Love you guys. I hope if anybody's interested in jumping on and spending 3 days with me, do me a favor. You could either private message me. You could send a message at team@fooddoggroup.com. That's team@fooddoggroup.com. They'll give you the details. I'll do my very best with us to take care of you. We'll get you on there. I'll give it everything we got. We have some amazing speakers. This is not a hear great stories, walk away with nothing. This is listen, learn, grow, expand, and build a blueprint of change so you could create a legacy. All right, we're going for it. That's what we're going to do. All right, talk to you soon.